You can draw this in Procreate. You can create your own colorful wall art on your iPad. During this easy Procreate tutorial, I'm going to guide you through the steps of creating this colorful wall art. You don't need any experience with drawing or with Procreate, it's really super easy. And once you have reached the end of this tutorial, then do be sure to share your work or perhaps a photo of your printed wall art. When you share it on Instagram, do be sure to tag me in the image, not just in the description, because that way I will be able to find your work and maybe we will see it in the next video. Just like these fantastic results from my friends at Patreon. Patreon is the place to go if you want to follow more Procreate tutorials. I have more than 100 there and they range from beginner level to more advanced levels. But now let's get started with this tutorial. We are going to start by making a brand new canvas. When you are in the gallery of Procreate, you can do that by tapping the plus in the upper right corner. Then we will tap this little folder icon. And now we can create our own canvas. Now let's say you want to print your artwork and you're thinking of an artwork of 12 by 16 inches. Then over here you can tap inches, and then for the width we will pick 12 and for the height we will pick 16. And of course you can do the same with centimeters. Then you would go for 30 centimeters in width and 40 in height. And then over here we are going to change the DPI. That's the dots per inch, which means the amount of pixels per inch. And we are going to set this to 300. That will give you a nice quality. And over here you can see the maximum amount of layers that you can create. In my case, that's 104 layers, but that depends on your iPad. And now let's change the name of our canvas. So whenever you want to create a 12 by 16 inch print, you can pick this preset. So let's just call it 12 by 16. And then let's tap Create. Now that we have our canvas, it's time to get started. Don't forget to grab my color palette in case you want to use the same colors as I'm using. There's a link in the description which will lead you to the color palette, and it's totally free, of course. During this tutorial, we will only be using 2 brushes, and those 2 brushes are already in the Procreate app. But if you want more brushes, then do be sure to go to freefromflow.com to get my free treasure chest brush pack. There are more than 70 brushes in there for you to play around with. Now let's go to the layer menu, that's the 2 little squares, and we'll tap background color. And then we'll pick this first color in the first row. Next we are going to make a drawing grid. We'll go to the wrench up here, then we'll go to canvas, and then we'll turn on drawing guide. And then you need to go to edit drawing guide. And over here you'll see the opacity and the thickness and the grid size. We are going to leave those alone, but of course feel free to change the color here at the top, or if you want to change the opacity of the grid or the thickness, that's fine, but leave the grid size at 151 pixels and turn on assisted drawing. That way all our lines will follow the grid. Then tap done. Now let's zoom out a little bit so we can see the edges of our canvas. And then for our brush, we are going to grab the monoline brush. It's part of the calligraphy brushes in Procreate. And the brush opacity is at 100% and the size is at 25%. And for our color, we are going to grab the 4th color in the 2nd row. And now over here we'll count, we'll go up 3 blocks and we'll make a line from the left to the right. Make sure that it touches the edges. And then drag in the color like this to fill the area. Next we are going to duplicate this layer. You can go to the layer menu and slide to the left and then tap duplicate. And then we are going to move this shape by going to the move and transform tool. That's the little arrow here. And then just drag it up and to the right. We want 3 blocks over here and we'll go up about 2 blocks. Then we'll go to the layer menu again, the 2 little squares, and then we'll duplicate this layer by sliding to the left, tapping duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool and move this one to the right and up as well. So 3 blocks to the right and 2 up. We'll do that one more time. So we'll go to the layer menu, we'll slide to the left and then tap duplicate. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool and move to the right and up to about here. Then you can go to the layer menu and you can merge these layers by just pinching them together. Now we are going to duplicate this layer. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, and then we'll go to the bottom one and then back to the Move and Transform tool, the little arrow. Here at the bottom, we'll tap Flip Horizontal. Then over here at the bottom, turn on Magnetics under Snapping. And then we are going to move the shape up to about here. That's 6 blocks from the top. So just drag it up in a straight line. And let's see, that's 3, 4, 5, 6 down from the top. Then we'll tap the arrow again like this. And then we'll change the color of the shape. We'll go to the colors and pick this second color in the second row. And we'll drag it onto the shape. And then we'll drag it underneath here to fill that area as well. Then let's go back to this layer. That's the layer over here. We are going to duplicate it again by sliding to the left, then tap Duplicate. And then we are going to change the color of this layer by going to the colors, grabbing that third color, and dragging it onto the shape. Then let's go back to the Move and Transform tool, the little arrow, and we are going to move this to the right and downward. Now let's just turn Magnetics off here so we have a bit more freedom so that it won't start snapping. Then we'll move it downward and to the right, well, to about here. Then we'll go back to the layer menu, 2 little squares. We'll make a new layer by tapping the plus. And for our color, we are going to grab this blue, that first color in the first row. And we are going to make an arch here. So first we'll make a circle like this. Draw a circle, hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and then tap one finger on the screen to make it a perfectly round circle. And it should be something like this. And you can drag in a color to fill this shape. And then let's make a new layer on top by going to the layer menu and then tapping the plus. And now we need a rectangle. Now an easy way to create a rectangle is by using the selection tool. That's the S shape ribbon here. Then set it to a rectangle and then turn on color fill here. And we'll start here in the center of our circle on the left side, and then we'll drag down to the right like this. Then we'll tap the S shape ribbon again to get out of this menu. And then let's zoom in a little bit. You can see that it's not perfectly aligned to the side of the circle, so we can go to the Move and Transform tool. Then we'll set it to Freeform, and over here under Snapping, we'll turn Snapping on. Now you can drag this handle to the right until you see that blue line. Over here as well, until you see that blue line. You can also drag this around until you see a horizontal blue little line. Then tap the arrow again and just check if it's looking good. You might need to nudge it a little bit. Sometimes you need to go back to the arrow and again move it until you see that little line. And then when you tap the arrow, it should be looking good. Then let's go to the layers and pinch these 2 blue layers together, and let's duplicate it. So we'll slide to the left and tap Duplicate. Then we'll use this layer to create a little window. Let's zoom out a little bit. Then let's go to the Move and Transform tool again, the little arrow, and we'll move it to about here, and we'll make it a little bit smaller. Make sure to set it to uniform here. Then drag that corner until you have something like this, or maybe even a little bit smaller, about 3.5 blocks. Let's place it a little bit lower, 2 blocks from the top. And then let's duplicate this layer. So we'll go back to the layer menu, slide to the left, tap Duplicate, then go back to the Move and Transform tool and slide this to the right until you have about 2.5 blocks in between them. Then we'll go back to the layer menu, so we'll tap the 2 little squares and we'll merge these 2 window layers. So pinch them together, make sure that the door is still on a separate layer. And then we are going to cut off the bottom part. So we'll go to the selection tool, that's the S shape ribbon. We'll have it set to rectangle, but we'll turn off color fill. Then make a selection of the bottom part to about the height of the door, a little bit lower, perhaps something like this. And then you can either swipe with 3 fingers on your screen, or you can go to the layer menu, tap the layer and use clear. Now we have our doorway and our windows, and we can pinch to merge these layers together. Now we are going to use a little masking trick to create holes in this layer. First, we'll tap this layer 4, then we'll use select to make a selection of the windows and the door, and then we'll use invert over here. So everything is selected except the door and the windows. Then we'll go and turn this layer off by using this little check mark. Then we'll go to this layer, we'll tap it, and we'll tap mask. Now part of this layer is masked and it has the shape of the doorway and the windows. Now you could keep the mask, or you can just pinch these together to make it permanent and to just have a hole, or actually 3 holes in this layer. Next we are going to add some depth to this layer by duplicating this layer. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, then we'll tap the bottom layer and we are going to change its color. We'll go to the color menu, grab this color, the first one in the second row, and we'll drag it onto the shape. Now you can't see it, but once you go to the layer menu, you can see that this is a darker pink. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool again, and we are going to slide this to the left and downward until we have something like this. Wonderful. Now let's go back to the layer menu. Let's tap the plus for a new layer. And then let's drag it underneath the others. And on this layer, we are going to create a sun and some clouds. And actually, we can remove this layer because we don't need that layer with the windows and the door anymore. So you can slide to the left and then tap delete. And on this layer, we are going to use a different color. We'll use this 4th color in the first row. And we are going to draw a circle here. So just draw a circle, hold your pen in place so that you change to the quick shape, and then tap 1 finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. Just like this, and then drag in the color. Then before we continue, let's turn off that grid. We don't need any of these lines anymore. Let's go to the wrench, and then to canvas, and then turn off the drawing guide. And then tap the wrench again. Next, let's create our clouds. First, let's grab a color, that 2nd color in the first row. And we are going to make some very simple cloud shapes. Just some wobbles like this. Go all the way to the left. And over here, another wobble. Go back all the way to the right. Here, start at the edge of your canvas and make a shape like this. All the way back to the edge of your canvas. Because for each shape, you need to make sure that the shape is closed. Otherwise, we won't be able to fill it with color. Now over here, we'll make another shape. Make sure to loop around to close it, and then another shape over here. Close it, and then drag in the color like this, and then tap continue filling, and tap inside the other clouds to fill them as well. Now for the final touch in our illustration, we are going to add a pot with a plant. Let's do that on a new layer on top of all the others. So first tap the top layer, then tap the plus. And we are going to make use of the symmetry tool in this case. So when you use the symmetry tool, you can draw on 2 sides at the same time. So let's go to the wrench. Then we'll turn on the drawing guide again and we'll go to edit drawing guide. And then over here, we'll tap symmetry. And I want the pot to be somewhere over here. Let's move this line a little bit to the right like this. This is where the pot will be. Then tap done. And then let's grab a different color. We'll use the 4th color in the first row. Let's zoom in a little bit. And then let's first make a horizontal line like this. Hold your pen in place and tap 1 finger on the screen for a perfectly horizontal line. And then we'll start here and make a shape like this. Now you might need to adjust it a little bit. We can rotate like this and then tweak our pot until it looks just the way we want it. Then drag in a color to fill it. And then let's add a plan. But first, let's get rid of that line. We'll go to the wrench again and we'll turn off the drawing guide. Then we'll make a layer. So we'll go to the layer menu and we'll make a layer underneath the pot layer. So first tap this layer, then tap the plus. Then for our brush, we are going to use the script brush, which is also already in Procreate. And for the color, we are going to use the 3rd color in the first row. For this brush, the opacity is set to 100% and the size is set to 20%. And we are going to create some simple leaves inside this pot. Now for this brush, the harder you press on your brush, the thicker your line will become. And if you press lightly, it'll be very thin. So when we start with our leaf, with our stem, we'll press lightly and then we'll press a little bit harder to make that leaf. And press lightly at the end. Then we'll make another leaf over here, shaped like this, and a small leaf over here, right on the side. Then one over here in this direction. Light pressure at the end. And one swooping on this side. And a smaller one over here. Then we can drag in the color to fill these shapes. So drag it in, then use continue filling and tap these leaves to fill their shapes. And now we can tap the brush to get out of the color drop menu, and then we can check out our work. You have created a lovely, colorful, stylized piece of art that deserves a spot on a wall. Be it your wall, or perhaps you want to give this as a present, or perhaps you just want to post it online. That's perfectly fine as well, of course. But if you need to print it, then of course you need to export your work, you need to upload it, send it to a company that can print your work, or perhaps you have a really good printer at home. Now to export your work, you need to go to the wrench and then to share. And here you have different options. Now I would suggest checking with the company that is going to print your work what type of file they want. Sometimes you need to give a JPEG or a PNG or perhaps a PDF. And often these printing companies have special template files which you can use. And then once you have your print, go ahead, frame it, hang it on your wall, or wrap it up and give it as a lovely present. I hope you had lots of fun following this tutorial. Let me know if you did. Perhaps you want to turn this into a streak, so maybe you can watch this tutorial next and maybe turn that into a print as well. I would like to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for the next tutorial.